Hey Seed Hunters, I've made a countdown of my favourite build locations found in 2024. I hope you're ready to be inspired. Here are the top 50 best seeds for building found this year in Minecraft. Starting with a seed that is both perfect for a long-term survival adventure and building an awesome base right at spawn. Just a short walk from your starting point, you can find this nice and flat meadow island that is surrounded by cherry grove, mountains, and a river that flows all around it. It's the perfect spot for your starter base because it's also surrounded by almost every biome you could ever wish for. On one side you can spot taiga forests, snow and frozen ocean, and on the other side you can spot jungle, desert, and badlands, all with your meadow island base right in the very center of it all. If you want to test yourself with an epic mountain build this year, I think Seed 9 would be the perfect choice. You spawn on a small symmetrical and semicircular mountain surrounded by river and ocean, and behind that mountain across a calming pine tree valley is an even bigger mountain range. I'm imagining a castle high up on the bigger mountain with a bridge that crosses to more builds on the smaller mountain and a path that leads down to a dock on your stony shore that you can use to sail out to the mushroom fields. This next seed has a really cool village and mansion combination, but first, it's worth exploring Spawn a little because it's got some of the best spawn terrain I've ever seen. Right at the start of your adventure, you've got some river islands surrounded by dense forests in all directions, and just around the corner, you've got a beautiful valley where rivers, forests, and steep meadow hills combine to create a perfect location for building a base. This is exactly where I'd be setting up my home if I were to choose this seed. And just across from this area is where you'll find a mansion that is buried into the wall of a meadow crater. There's even a village and a ruined portal right on top of the mansion too. You could even live in here and build a staircase up to the mansion for whenever you want to leave the crater and explore the world. Up next is a seed with the perfect spot for a simple and peaceful starter base, spawning you in the middle of a mixed forest river island. If you just want a slow, relaxing start to your new Minecraft world, I can't imagine a more chill seed than this. Just chop some wood, set up some farms, and see how much you can transform your island without leaving it. When you're ready to hop across the river, you've got a woodland mansion and a village on each side of the island that you could easily connect to your starter base. If dark oak is your vibe, Seed 46 has a mountain valley that you need to check out. You could build a treetop city in this sea of trees, or even head down into the epic caves below. If you've ever dreamt of building a large jungle empire, this is the best seed to do it in. You spawn in a super spacious jungle valley where you're towered over by sharp, stony peaks in all directions. Set up your main builds at the top of the valley next to this exposed lush cave, and then build a road through the valley that leads you down to the ocean and all of the amazing cliffs you can find along the coast. You won't find a better jungle valley view than this. Just imagine it when it's full of builds. This seed spawns you high up on an incredibly steep mountain slope. If you can, make your way down through the valley until you reach the ocean. You'll find a tiny flat island with just enough room for your starter house. The island may lack in size, but these views are worth it as it looks directly into the stunning mountain valley. Imagine stepping out of your front door and seeing this at the start of each day. And if you look around the cliffs, you'll spot some fun caves for building in too. Up next is a seed with the perfect building location for the new update. So, if you're ready to put your building skills to the test with the new pale wood and resin blocks, get ready to copy and paste this one. This seed actually spawns you directly inside of a pale garden, so you'll be thankful that the new Minecraft worlds always start off at daytime. Head on over this cool looking X-shaped river and you'll come across a huge lake almost entirely surrounded by pale garden hills. Just imagine a pale oak tower rising up from the center of the lake with the resin structures built all around the cliffs. There's so many possibilities. If you want a location close to spawn to build surrounded by the new biome, you should definitely give this one a try. Up next is a seed that spawns you on a mountain island in the middle of the ocean. But this mountain island has a few special features that I think make it stand out. The island's main attraction is this deep sinkhole that you can find just over the peaks of the mountain. There's a lake nestled at the bottom of it, and steep cliffs with exposed caves surrounding it. I think it would be a cool place to set up a cave base on your new island. To top this island off, there's also some trail ruins, a village down by the shore, a ruined portal, and mushroom islands in all directions. If simplicity is what you crave, Seed 41 will definitely satisfy you. You spawn in the middle of one of the biggest and flattest plains biomes Minecraft has to offer. There's never been more space for building. If you're down for building in the Badlands, this seed gives you the perfect start. You spawn in a large Badlands crater with a large lake and plenty of space for setting up your own Wild West town. I've linked a building tutorial playlist in the description which is full of builds that would be perfect for this location. Head above the crater and there's so much more to be inspired by. Flat plateaus, grand canyons, and even eroded rivers that stretch for miles. If your goal is to build an epic cave base, or maybe an underground civilization, you're gonna need the biggest and most spacious cave ever, and in this seed, I think we found it. You'll have to adventure over 10,000 blocks to get here, but wow, tell me this isn't worth it. There's light shining down from the Badlands above, lush overhangs twinkling all around, a lava lake lighting up the entire cavern, giant dripstone pillars, waterfalls crashing in every direction, and the most spacious cave floor you've ever walked around. It will probably take a lot of skill and patience, but if you were to completely fill this place with builds, you'd end up with a cave transformation like no other. But you could build something amazing on this seed that gives you the perfect spawn for a giant medieval castle. With a stony peak mountain completely surrounded by even more max height stony peak mountains, you'll struggle to find a better location for an epic base right at spawn. There's even a gap in the mountains that leads down to the ocean. If you're down for an epic snowy adventure this winter, this seed gives you the best possible start. This is probably one of the best Minecraft spawns I've ever shown you. In this seed, your adventure starts in the middle of a circular plains biome with not one but 4 villages that can all be found around the edge of the circle. With 4 villages to trade with and plenty of space for building in the center of the circle, it really is a dream start. One of the villages leads you to an ice spikes biome, which could be a good place to start exploring the snowy terrain that surrounds you. Or you could just stay in the circle and never leave. Turn the villages into one big city and build a giant dome to protect the villagers from the cold. I'd love to know what you do with this one. Let me know in the comments. Up next is one of my favorite mountain craters I've ever found. I love how the terrain has generated completely naturally to form the perfect entrance with these 2 mini craters and a small passageway that leads you into the main dome. Inside of that main dome, there's a hill with just 2 cherry trees perfectly centered between the mountains. There's something about these cherry trees sitting in the middle of this terrain that makes it extra special to me. Up next is a Minecraft spawn that couldn't be more picturesque. You spawn in a giant mountain dome full of flower-filled meadows, a cherry grove, and a large mixed forest. If you were to build here, you'd never want to leave. With 4 different wood types and so much space for building, you've got a giant blank canvas that will help bring your Minecraft spawn to life. All it needs is a touch of your imagination. What would you build in this beautiful location? But if you'd prefer your base to look out over the ocean, you should consider building in this beautiful jungle lagoon. This area with tropical cliffs and mountains in the background is just begging to be transformed. There are perfectly positioned trees, a large lush cave with an epic entrance, and even a woodland mansion sitting right on the edge of the cliffs. This seed spawns you on a snowy jagged peak mountain range that lies in the center of your new world, but it's what's below this spawn mountain that really makes this seed special. Surrounding the mountain, you can find loads of different biomes to help you gather resources, a ton of villages to trade with including this one climbing up the peaks, and some great places to build too, like this multi-forest island that has 4 different wood types and epic views of the spawn mountain in the background. But let's head back to that mountain now, because you won't believe what's below it. Dig down, maybe not, straight down, and you'll drop into a giant deep dark dripstone cavern that will blow your mind. Not only does it have a huge lava lake, but on each side of that lake, you can find 2 ancient cities that are super close together. There's even a natural bridge that is formed to help you cross the lake from one city to the other. This is the ultimate seed for the deepest, darkest, and most dangerous base you've ever built. Thankfully, if you take a ride up this waterfall, it looks like there's a safer entrance by the side of the mountain. Let's lower the temperature a bit for this seed because it's got one of the best winter landscapes you'll ever find. This one spawns you in a taiga forest with views of a frozen peak mountain that you need to climb up. Head over the peaks and you'll discover a huge snowy forest mountain bowl that you'll never want to leave. There is nothing that quite beats the atmosphere of enjoying a cozy campfire amongst a sea of snowy white trees for me. There's also an outpost in here where pillagers have the most amazing view of the mountains. But if a chill, laid-back Minecraft adventure is what you're after, I think this seed gives you the perfect spawn. This world throws you straight into a symmetrical cherry blossom valley that points you perfectly in the direction of the sunrise. The views from this valley are so beautiful. Imagine building your starter base here with a path through the valley that you can use whenever you want to go out on adventures. I'm really having to fight the temptation to start a new world on this one. This seed spawns you just across the river from the biggest pale garden biome you'll ever find in the new update. I've seen a lot of people complaining online about how small these biomes can be. Well, you don't need to worry about this one because it stretches to around 2,000 blocks in length. So if you just want a seed to explore this mysterious new biome, or if you'd like an infinite supply of creaking hearts, you won't get any better than this. If you're brave enough to explore this entire forest, you will eventually stumble across loads of interesting features like this woodland mansion, plenty of exposed lush ravines, and even some nice spots for building if you don't mind living in a house surrounded by the creaking. If you're looking for something simple yet beautiful, you should give this flower forest spawn a try. Spawning amongst the flowers by the beach with a mushroom field off in the distance gives you some super cozy vibes. There's also this natural arch at spawn which I think would be perfect for building next to. Head further inland and you'll come across plenty of flat plains, including this section surrounded by a river. But that's nothing compared to the caves you can find on this tropical mountain island. Make your way through the amazing open entrances and just take a look at how much lushness is exposed to the surface. With an island covered in moss blocks and bamboo forest, this is one of the lushest and greenest spawns you could wish for. There are so many different parts of the cave to explore, and there's even a tunnel that leads you down directly into a lush ancient city. From epic underworlds to breathtaking overworlds, you need to check out what is right over this mountain at spawn. This seed spawns you in a savanna full of armadillos. It's gonna be your job to find as many of them as you can and lead them over the hill to their new home, because this is an armadillo's paradise. Right on the edge of the savanna is this stunning Cherry Grove mountain crater. There's something about the transition from the dull savanna grass to the bright Cherry Grove grass that really makes this area stand out and look full of life. Starting with a seed that spawns you in a Cherry Grove mountain crater, the perfect start for a quaint cherry starter base fully protected by frozen peaks. And while this seed gives you the perfect start, there's so much more building potential around your spawn mountain too. Head down the slopes and you'll come across a flower forest with a beautiful meadow mound entirely surrounded by mountains and cherry forest. Whatever you decide to build here, it's certain to have some of the most peaceful surroundings you could ever wish for. This seed spawns you so high up that you can start the game facing the clouds that are slowly rolling towards you. Beneath those clouds is a giant savanna and mixed forest mountain dome entirely surrounded by max height stony peaks in every direction you look. At the top of the mountains, you can find a gap that leads you into another mountain dome. It's the perfect spawn for an epic building project. There's more crazy terrain in this seed when you spawn next to an unbelievable ice spikes overhang. I love how it looks like the ice spikes are holding up this huge chunk of stone. If there was ever a seed for an epic ice palace, this is the one. If you're craving island life but also a good variety of biomes, then this seed could be perfect for you, because it's got a triple biome island with a sparse jungle and wooded badlands surrounded by a river all the way around. With a different biome in every direction, this could be the perfect place to build a base in the center of them all. This seed combines a really nice spawn for building with a bunch of exciting structures. You'll start next to a mixed forest island surrounded by plains and dark oak hills. Climb up the hill and you'll come across a quadruple structure combination with a village, a ruined portal, an outpost, and a woodland mansion. Pillagers usually try to capture LAs, but in this seed, it looks like they've set them free from the mansion. This is the most peaceful and chill spawn you'll ever step foot in. If you need some relaxing and cozy vibes as we head into the cold winter months, this is the one. If I was on the lookout for a new Minecraft seed, this is exactly where I'd be surviving. This seed spawns you in a birch forest. Climb up the first hill in your path and you'll discover a place that'll be impossible not to call home. If you love the old growth pine biome as much as I do, this is the dream. Simply put, it's just some forest hills surrounding a lake, but the lake is so perfectly centered and there's just enough room for building around the lake, giving you the perfect opportunity to create a base, a town, or even a chill hangout area for your new SMP. I can just imagine this lake surrounded by log cabins, fishing shacks, and campfires. Surrounding this crater, you'll also be able to find villages, portals, frozen rivers, and even ice spikes. If anyone starts up a new world on this one, please invite me. But let's head back above ground for this next seed that has a village with an incredible backdrop.
I can't think of a more peaceful start to a Minecraft adventure than hanging out with some villagers and sharing a view as amazing as this. Maybe you could expand the village up into the mountains to create your own civilization that surrounds this giant lake. There's also a lake on the opposite side of the village where you can find a jungle temple island.
If you're looking for a snowy seed that will take your breath away this winter, you've got to check out this one that spawns you way up on a windswept Ice Spikes mountain, with one singular spike that rises higher than the rest, giving you an unbeatable view of the frozen terrain below. If you've ever wanted to build an Ice Spikes base, there's no better spike than this one. From up here, you literally feel like you're on top of the world, and you could even build a gigantic ladder through the ice spike down through the mountain to reach the world below. From an ice fortress that pierces the clouds to a sky-high frozen observation deck, this one has so many opportunities.
But first, check out this seed which has the most breathtaking mountain dome you'll ever step foot in. From the cherry forest all the way up to Minecraft's max height limit, these are some of the steepest snowy slopes you'll ever see. Climbing up these slopes, you can find a village with a house up in the peaks that has an unbelievable view. Just imagine all the things you could build in here. Fly across to the peaks on the opposite side, and you can find a second village in this amazing location which even has a stronghold underneath it. There's even a cave up on the slopes that leads you directly to a skeleton spawner. But my favorite seed for building in Minecraft is this one, which has an incredible meadow crater where two giant lakes have merged together. There's nothing that beats the views from the top of these meadow walls. Just imagine how amazing this would look if you were to build a town all the way around the lake. This seed has gotten even better in 1.21 because of what you can now find at the bottom of the lake. Submerge yourself into the water and you'll easily be able to spot a trial chamber. I wonder if it's possible to find a more beautiful trial chamber location than this.
There's an area you can find in this seed that I think would be a builder's paradise. I think it offers the perfect blend of space and scenery. You've got a spacious and reasonably flat mixed forest that is just the right size for all your friends to build in, or even on your own. The forest is separated from the rest of the world by mountains on one side and ocean on the other side. So if you decide to set up your base here, you'll be able to set out on adventures by trekking over the peaks or dive off the sheer cliffs and explore the sparkling ocean below.
If you're looking for a simple spawn for building in, this seed is a great one to try. As soon as you start your adventure, you'll be greeted by a large stretch of flat plains where the possibilities are endless. But just around the corner, there's a really inspiring location you need to check out. Follow the river through this cherry grove valley and you'll find a meadow hill perfectly centered between two other meadows with a river flowing around it. If there was ever a meadow that was made for building on, this is the one.
This seed has a village island with possibly the best view that any village island has ever had. Whether you come to this island to trade, survive, or simply admire the view, this one is bound to leave you inspired. The island is super steep, and the village sits right at the very top, but there's some houses down by the water too, so maybe you could connect them. On one side of the island, you'll look out over the endless ocean, and on the other side, you've got an incredible view of a beautiful mountain coastline. Imagine building majestic bridges that connect the village to the surrounding cliffs, with a city of cliff face houses that span the entire coast. If you're looking for a seed to warm you up a bit this winter, you might like to spawn in the Badlands. I really like how this one spawns you in the middle of a valley with eroded badlands on either side. At one end of the valley you'll find a temple, and at the other you can find a village, so you'll be able to get off to a great start. If you sail down this 2,000 block long river, you'll eventually end up at a beautiful location where stony peaks have formed a giant crater that has enough room to build anything you could possibly imagine. Speaking of chill and laid back survival island spawns, I think this might be the most peaceful island spawn in Minecraft. This island is actually made up of two islands, but they're both covered in flowers. The outer ring is full of flower forest, while the middle has a sunflower field. I love how the middle island has generated with just one singular tree and plenty of open flat land for building. And the way it's surrounded by a circular river and flower forest full of trees give it a really nice contrast. I can just imagine a build right in the middle with small footbridges crossing the river all around it.
I didn't think that terrain could get any better until I spawned into this seed with the most jaw-dropping mountain coast I've ever seen. You begin your adventure next to this unbelievable frozen mountain bowl that I'm sure is going to inspire a lot of creative builds. Follow the coastline and you'll soon head through bamboo jungle that leads you up to a sharp stony peak mountain range. Whether you're into building in unique locations or just exploring through amazing terrain, this seed gives you the perfect spawn to do both.
This next seed has an incredible spawn that that combines loads of exciting structures and undeniable building potential all around. You'll first spot a woodland mansion sitting on the edge of a dark oak and meadow hill. The mansion faces directly onto a large meadow island that is entirely surrounded by forests and a river flowing all around it. I'm imagining a main base on the meadow with a railway bridge that crosses over the river and connects your base to the mansion. On the other side of that mansion, you can find a huge exposed dripstone cave that, unbelievably, contains both a village and a pillager outpost. This is definitely one of the more dangerous villages a villager could live in. Maybe they're battling it out with the pillagers to see who can get their hands on the treasure that lies below them. Follow the outpost down and you'll enter a spacious, lush cave with an exposed mine shaft. Don't mind if I do.
Seed 9 is another all biomes world where you'll be desperate to explore all the different biomes you can see around spawn. From snow-capped mountains to dense bamboo forests and even eroded badlands off in the distance, you can see it all from this spawn. There's a really nice lake at spawn too, which would be perfect for building around, and just over your spawn mountain you can find a flower forest and cherry grove valley that leads you all the way down from snowy forest to desert and badlands. For those of you that like building paths and roads, I think this is the perfect opportunity.
You've probably moved into a mansion and turned it into your home before, but I bet you've never built a base directly underneath one. This seed gives you the perfect opportunity to do that because this extra tall mansion right by spawn has a cave directly underneath it that couldn't have generated more perfectly. Move on in and set up your secret base while you plan your mansion raid. Or you could even transform the mansion and turn this cave into the mansion's treasure vault. There's loads of nice terrain around spawn too. There's even a village and a forest island that sit at a point where a river splits into 6 different directions. Now imagine waking up in one of Minecraft's longest and most majestic mountain valleys. With towering peaks on either side, this valley feels like it stretches forever. This seed is truly a path builder's dream. The flower forest corridor really doesn't seem to stop, but once you eventually reach the end, you'll discover beautiful places for building at the end of each valley, like this small plains hill that looks out over the cherry grove and snowy forest slopes. Build something you're proud of at each end, and then the most beautiful road in Minecraft is just waiting to be constructed. You could have paths and tunnels traversing through the caves and waterfalls and sky bridges connecting the peaks on the other side. With a spawn landscape as inspirational as this, you'll be traveling back and forth to your builds all the time, even if you don't have to. You'll just be dying to travel and explore.
But if Cherry Grove Mountains are more your vibe, Seed 6 could be the all biome world for you. In this area you can find a hillside that overlooks the ocean, a flower forest island and a giant portal lagoon. From whatever you decide to build in this beautiful location, you'll be able to spot mushroom fields out to sea, giant snowy plains to the right, warm biome mountains to the left and every forest in between. And as an added bonus, head underneath the flower island and you'll be able to find a trial chamber.
But something I would recommend you do is try out this seed, because it spawns you in one of the biggest and most incredible cherry grove craters ever found. Within this giant enclosed cherry blossom valley, you've got a large lake and spacious sunflower field. It's a simple yet perfect spawn for building your main base right from the start. It'd be so peaceful to live here, protected by the cherry walls, and those walls also contain dripstone caves to give you an extra layer of protection. Maybe you could build a path or bridge through the cave to exit out to the flower forest village on the other side. But if you really want to test your building skills in 1.21, you need to give this incredible mountain spawn a try. This seed spawns you into the biggest frozen peaks mountain range ever found in Minecraft. It's the largest continuous chain of frozen peak mountains ever, with over 1 million blocks of connected frozen peaks. And you spawn right in the middle of the mountain range in a breathtaking forest valley entirely surrounded by max height frozen peaks. There's even a separate mountain in the middle, which would be the ideal spot for a castle. What could you imagine building in this amazing location?
This seed is the perfect seed for building on with a friend. You spawn inside of a large Cherry Grove mountain crater, and right next to it is another mountain crater that is exactly the same size. This is the most amazing mountain generation I've seen, and it's right at spawn. You and your friend can have a crater each for building your bases, and then they can easily be connected with a bridge crossing the valley. There's loads more room for building around the craters too, with all these spacious flat plains. But if if you're just looking for a chill and peaceful existence in the new update, I think this seed has the perfect location to call your new home. You start in a beautiful spruce forest where chestnut wolves roam and waterfalls and rivers flow. Just around the corner, you'll find a meadow hill that is just begging to be built on. Not only is it almost perfectly flat for your new home, but the views around it are just so serene. You can even spot a forest river island close by too, which would be a cool place to build.
But if structures aren't what you're looking for, I've got the perfect place for you to build your own amazing creations. This seed spawns you high up on a max height mountain, and if you trek over the peaks, you'll discover a jungle valley like no other. I can't remember ever seeing a jungle valley this high up in the mountains before, where so many of the trees extend beyond the clouds. The valley sits in between two max height mountains, and standing atop the trees gives you an epic view of the forests below. This has got to be the #1 spot for your treehouse city. Let me know which locations were your favourite and what you would build in them. For even more incredible Minecraft seeds, click on the video on screen now.